Good night. What's that bad smell?
After more false dawns than glorious sunrises in East Belfast, Glentoran fans are daring to dream of a return to the top table of Irish League football. With the County Antrim Shield already in the trophy cabinet, a Bet McLean League Cup final date with Cliftonville is on the horizon. On this episode of Box to Box, we welcome three men who know exactly what it takes to bring success to the Oval. Club legends Gary Smith, Darren Lockhart and Michael Halliday helped the Glens to an embarrassment of riches during their careers in red, green and black. And on this episode, they give us an insight into the recipe for success and what they believe the class of 2025 can bring back to the Oval. Okay, right, we'll go straight into it now. Thanks for joining us, lads. Also, it'd be remiss to say, I also have Paul McAreeby with us as always, and you can be described as many things, but Glentoran legend will not be one of them.
No, definitely not. I'm just seeing the eyes looking at me here. I'm starting to get a bit scared. I want to get out safe.
That's only me, by the way.
Do you feel like you're behind enemy lines?
Yes, a wee bit, but I have to say I love being behind enemy lines. That's when I think I played at my best and when I was up for things the most, you know. But I love playing at the Oval. I love playing for the Blues that these boys will not be happy with. We had some great battles, and with these three to the left of me, they're sensational players over a long period for Glentoran, and I looked up to him, and I said to Lappy on the way in there, every time I was playing against him, I used to sleep for about 12 hours for 3 days before, and all I could think about was him for about 3 days. So that shows how high I hold him and how beautiful footballer he was.
You were probably in hospital for 2 days afterwards as well. So, we'll jump straight into it, lads. Obviously, you guys enjoyed success after success at Glentoran, certainly under Roy Coyle. And what are your main memories? I mean, League Cup finals. Obviously, this is the start of the build-up to the Bet McLean Cup final, which I'm sure everyone's looking forward to. Like, do you have many memories of League Cup finals amongst the many?
League Cup finals don't spring to mind as easily as, say, Irish Cup finals, but there were plenty of League Cup finals we were involved in. I'm just trying to think. I mean, were you involved in the one against Cliftonville, the 1-0 win?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
What year was that, Michael?
It's a good one, about 07.
That was Willow McDonald's tackles.
Oh, yes. Yeah, Willow McDonald's tackles, that's it. So League Cup finals don't really spring to mind as quite, you could probably tell me, were we involved in any?
Do you think I remember Glentoran League Cup finals?
I think you do.
Well, we beat the Blues 2-0. You scored and I scored, I think.
Well, I should remember that one then. But
but that statement,
was 2002 maybe.
But that statement alone just shows how many trophies you have won that you just can't even remember. So, do you know what I mean? It's quality.
Well, I certainly remember scoring against the Blues. It didn't happen that often. So, but no, 2002. Unfortunate. Not the clean sheet which the Blues went and won the following year. We got beaten in the final of the Irish Cup. But that on that run was 2002, 2003 was the 2-0 I think against Linfield at Windsor.
Treble? Is that the treble year?
Yeah.
Oh, what are the ones that stand out for you, Lockie? You were here a long time. What are the sort of cup finals and major moments at this club really stand out for you?
As Michael said, probably the big ones, the Irish Cup. It's something as a young lad, you sort of think to yourself that last day of the playing season, to get an Irish Cup final, especially the one against Linfield, that was phenomenal. So I'm sure the joy we had from that was unreal, and probably Michael, he'll live off the back of that the rest of his life. But
I never did anything else after that, really. So,
but yeah. The Irish Cup final has to be that. It's such a special day for players. Even that year, Smick was saying about when we neared on the clean sweep. I know Paul's probably done plenty in the Linfield, but we neared on the clean sweep. That was probably the most gut wrenching to lose that day, because we'd done so well all year. We'd done really well, obviously, win the league, and we thought we were nailed on against Coleraine, and that was probably one of the hardest days for us in football, because that sort of, you win that, you can through your whole summer, you just feel great. So that's the big one for me, the Irish Cup.
And Michael, go on, talk us through that wonder goal from a yard out.
Well, if you must, okay. The most sublime finish I've ever seen. I mean, there's no statue erected out in the car park yet, that's all I've got to say. But yeah, listen, it was Tim McCann's still trying to claim the goal to this day. He says it was over the line, but no, kept my head over the ball, tapped it in. Great finish. Everyone started going bananas. It was fantastic. Running over that north stand, great feeling because, you know, for years you'd been going to watch them in cup finals. A very successful cup team in the 80s and 90s. So just to be on the other side of it was phenomenal.
I remember speaking to you not long after the cup final, and you said about the things you heard about more after that was your misses during the final. It wasn't the fact that you'd scored the winner, it was ones that maybe you should have scored.
Yeah, I still hear about them. Yeah, I'd missed a few chances. I've missed one in the first half, but no one ever, you know, it's my dad mostly reminds me of them. You know, it's not the Glen men because they only remember the goal.
I reminded you going into extra time.
Oh, I know. Yes, Smicker said you better score here because you've missed that many. There was definitely one. Me and Winky were running through, and I missed a one-on-one, dragged it with my left foot wide. But yeah, I really couldn't have missed that one. No. And then, of course, Tommy captured the picture brilliantly. It's something that's followed me about and something that I look at fondly. So, cheers for that, Tommy.
And what was it about the Glentoran teams of those years that made you so ruthless? You know, obviously the quality of players, everyone could see that, but it takes a bit more than that because we've seen in recent times Glentoran have had quality players, but, you know, they never get over the line.
I think there was a real togetherness, certainly in the early days. You know, the boys would have met up early for, you know, like a Belmont Belly. But what was that shop called up the road from Fiddlesticks?
Truffles.
Aye, Truffles. Used to go to Truffles for a belly buster. And we're all together. And, you know, it was just a changing room that would have fought tooth and nail for each other. And I don't know if they've lost that down the years, you know, or certainly after we left. But we were all local boys that supported the Glens and, you know, would have been there, you know, watching them if we hadn't been playing for them. So, I mean, we fought for that shirt, like.
And you didn't at that stage have a lot of players coming in from Scotland or even up from the Southern League. So you had a lot of local players competing for places, and it meant then, as Michael said, you had a lot of most of I'd say most of that starting 11 were from East Belfast, and it wasn't hard then to go out and sort of. If you didn't, let's say you didn't compete well, you weren't playing well, you probably heard about it quite quickly. You could have went up to Conswater after a game if you could beat it. And it was a rarity back then. You were winning every week, and the guys were probably still moaning a bit at you. Sorry, boys.
What was it like for you, Lockie? Because obviously you had the game of your life, probably not playing for Glentoran, but against Glentoran. What was that like for you? And then obviously getting your move.
Yeah, that was Crusaders. I always Big Leaper always reminds me of that. He was marking me that day. That was 4-1, and I think was that Roy Coyle's first year. And they're not sure because they went on to win the league that year, the Glens. So yeah, I mean, we had lost a lot of players. That stage, Crusaders. I think Roy Walker moved on to Glenavon, took most of the squad with him, and we're very light. But with the likes of Glendon up at the back and no players like that, so we're still sort of strong through the centre. And I don't think anybody expected to come here and beat the Glens 4-1. But yeah, that was the hat trick. It's probably 3 of the best goals I've ever scored too. I think. Did
you ever get another hat trick?
Oh yeah, quite a
few.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Training.
You sure?
Hat tricks and training every week.
And Gary, obviously, I mean, you signed for the Glen several times over. What was it? I know you were a Glen man growing up, but what was it about this club that kept drawing you back?
I don't know. No idea. Apart from being a Glen man, I never really learnt my lesson, but I was first signed in 88 and I left for Glenavon 95. I was back again 2000 and then Wendy took over and I was back again then 2007, 2006 and then I was back as under 18 manager and then I came back again under Big Ronnie, so I think I beat Tim McCann, to tell you the truth. But no, it's my club. It's always been my club. On the end of the day, it's Glentoran. Obviously, it's different leaders and different rulers and what have you. But at the end of the day, Glentoran's Glentoran. You know, it's been there 100 years before. You know, a lot of people who have been about in the past 20, 30, 10 years, whatever. You know, so. But I honestly do think it's getting back on track, and I think the results are showing.
And Maggers, what were these guys like to go up against?
Yeah.
Is there any you didn't like?
No,
Not
really.
even just these three. Is there anybody you didn't like that you were...
No, when I was playing in my career, I think a lot of people thought I was a nasty posty at times, and I probably was on the pitch. But once the game was over, that was me. I was at bin, straight to a bar for a pint, you know, and I always respected these lads, and you had to respect them because they were quality players right through the team, from 1 to 11, 11 to 14. They could cause you problems, and we were speaking about this last night with Glenn Ferguson. You know, when they did the treble, if they probably had Spike as well in their team, they'd have probably won the quad. But fortunately, he signed for Linfield, and we were able to get it over the line for that. So that shows the fine margins. I think, like it says, they could be at 1-0 for the clean sweep against Coleraine, or they would have got it, and we were fortunate to get it just a couple of years later. But no, total respect for them. The lads were, over the 10 years that I played in the league, they were top players. It's crazy. I was talking to Michael out there, and I thought he'd retired in the summer. He still said he still played. 47. I retired I retired about flipping 16 years ago or something. Flip six, unbelievable. Madness.
He's 52.
Taking them steroid injections every week. No, but yeah, they have fantastic players, all three of them, but right through their team, nothing but respect for them, and we had some fantastic battles. Sometimes we finished on top, sometimes they finished on top. I'll never forget Morgan Day out there. I've never been as devastated in all my life, you know, just thinking we needed that draw to get over the line. It was such a tough game, and then for Chris Morgan to score near enough the last kick of the ball, it was nuts. And then the ride after it wasn't great there. I was away like a champion. Here's me, Linfield man, Catholic, over in East Belfast. I make it all fair quick.
There was a lot of people that looked like you in the middle of all that shenanigans, by the way.
My man, there's about 4 of them.
There's a few in the room tonight too, by the way. Let's also talk about a major incident you had playing against Glentoran. I'm sure there's a lot of people in the room tonight remember it. The headbutt. Talk us through it. What were you thinking?
I don't know what I was thinking.
And did you run away straight after?
Yeah, I wasn't thinking clearly. You know, and there's a funny story to this. You won't know this. So it was about 3 minutes into the game, and I remember David Jeffrey down the stairs, and he was giving us his full just war path. Well, give it this, give it that. And I remember standing at the door coming out, and there was a full crowd here, and he actually hit me a slap in the face. I was like, come on now. And I was like, right, let's go. And I think it was just that went on to the pitch, and I think Tommy sort of hit me on the calf or something. Like, I don't know where he meant it or not, but
It was Tommy McCallion.
Oh, Tommy McCallion. So I don't know what I was thinking. Just turned through the head, and it's daft. Like, this day my kids are looking at it and they go, what are you at, Daddy? And what are you doing with a bit of hair? You know, they don't know that. But yeah, it was stupid, and we were fortunate to get away with a 1 each draw that day. And I remember sitting in the changing room deadly serious, and Andy Kerr, God bless him, who passed away today, he smoked like a choo-choo, and I didn't even smoke. My nerves right away. He says, Andy gives one of them fags, and I was sitting down the stairs smoking like a champion, so I was, in the changing room. And we were lucky to get a 1-1 draw on the end of it, but then the boys came back on Tuesday night to Windsor and beat us 3-0, so it didn't work out at all for us. But yeah, it's one of the highs, lows, part and parcel of it. But the best thing was David Jeffrey came off the game and he thanked all the boys for their efforts, and then went through me and he says, what were you thinking? And I turned around and I said, it was your fault, you hit me slap in the face and wound me up. So I got 2 weeks wages for it instead of 1.
What were those rivalries like back in the day? Because obviously Roy Coyle against David Jeffrey, you know, there was always something going on, there was always someone saying something, there was great needle in the matches, and we've probably lost that a bit of a, you know, down the last couple of years. I know the last game here between the Blues and the Glens, there was a bit of that even after the match, and I think if we're all being honest, we love seeing a bit of that, don't we?
Oh, I would love seeing a wee bit of those shenanigans going on, absolutely. But I think I work with Noel. No, I sit across the desk from Noel Bailey, and people are like, should you not hate him? And I'm going, no, Noel's okay, but like the players were fine. It's obviously the supporters, you know. They're going, they can't understand why, you know, like, you were dead on, like, off the pitch, but whenever you were on the pitch, we did want to kill them. But the problem was that Winky was a lot bigger than me, and I didn't even try to start with Winky. I'd look for Lockie to hit him with an elbow or something. That's Lockie's special move, the elbow.
I think Lockie used to sharpen those before matches, didn't he?
Well, I'll tell you a good story about Winky, in that I was on my year out at university, and I worked across the road from where his missus worked on the Shore Road. And I went in, and she was going, oh, you play for Glens? I was going, yeah. She goes, my husband's Winky Murphy. I went, listen, you wouldn't have a word with him, would you? Because every time I start a game, I go up to him and say, all right, Winky, all the best. And he never says anything back to me, just
Growl.
growls. She says, I'll have a word with him. So Boxing Day came, I went, all right, Winky? And he went, all right, Michael, all the best. And I went, see, tell you to say that.
So we know who the boss is.
Oh, you do, aye. Aaron.
And Lockie, you were probably involved in a lot of sort of shenanigans during those days and the big games of the Glens. How much did you love it?
You know, the games against Linfield were hard to enjoy because you didn't get to play any football. It was quite intense. The ball, especially, I think it was David Jeffries had a way of playing where he's probably at fault for the way the Irish League was for about 10 years there. He was very direct.
Yeah.
And when you're playing against Linfield back then midfield, you seem to be doing a lot of running and not getting much of the ball. Whereas no, any of the other games, outside of probably Linfield Portadown, you got a lot more of the ball. And I think those days, you were quite front to back, where you played Spike, and maybe was it Davy Larmer off from that end.
The tallest midfield in the league, the Kearney, him, Galt and Mount.
But then their midfielders running off our midfielders, and it was like Spike was so good. No, he was. If the ball went into his chest, he was holding it up, and if it was a header, then the likes of Smicker and that had a chance. But he's so good at dropping the ball off. And you played this game where you hit him constantly from the full-backs or from the keeper. And when you play midfield, it wasn't enjoyable. You couldn't get the ball down, and then from the wins free kicks, you got the ball down. Somebody like this is coming into the back of your head. Say about me, and he was worse than me, honestly. I'm a Galte. So I don't know what it was. You didn't get a lot of time the ball, and I don't know what maybe Jeffrey's team talks was, but I'm sure it was the same. It was don't let him play, hit him nice and early. No, you get a yellow card, and no, I'm sure that was probably the thought process.
Exactly what you said there. I think when Spike was holding the ball up so well at that period of his career, it was just an easy option, and probably the right option as well. Looking back, I wanted to play more football in them games, but because Spike was good at holding the ball up, if you got good balls up to him, he loved their midfield runners, and sometimes we would maybe have 4 or 5 running at us at the time, and like he says, we were all 6 foot plus, and we were all good athletes. I was probably the worst athlete, and I didn't have the pace, but I could run all day, I used to think, anyway.
You're like Luke Littler.
Thanks, man. No. Nice son.
But also the game's definitely changed. There's no doubt about that. I'm down watching the Glens most weeks now, and I actually enjoy it. I'm enjoying the full time side of it, and they're very technically very good now. Like as Paul, you could get on the ball no problem. With a lot of players back then in the league, we were quite fortunate with a good strong team that wanted to play and could play. But a lot of players throughout the league were just happy to hook a ball on. I mean, I remember a short period playing under Marty Quinn, which is quite funny. I love Marty at bits, but I remember a couple of times bringing the ball down midfield and he went absolutely daft. I'm not going to curse, but it was like he told me to hook the ball on, and he must have effed at me about 20 times for not doing it. And that was the way a lot of the managers played back then. They didn't want to play through midfield. Whereas I think now I'm looking at the league and I'm going, flip, it's entertaining in terms of the patterns of play and the amount of possession. Whereas our games, the possession turned quite a bit. Against Linfield, if it was a 50-50 game, you probably in midfield had about 10 touches each.
I mean, they're not good games to watch back.
No.
Like if you watch Morgan Day back, it's not a good. Well, it depends what side of the fence you're on. It's obviously a great game for some of us, but the football's not great. Like.
No. But the other side of that, and you alluded to it earlier, the tackling, the stuff off the ball, the getting the crowd. I'm sure I seen it here last week against Linfield. A couple of incidents, and we had a 7-year-old child with us, and the shouting, he wanted to go down and fight. I'm ready to go down to the tunnel waiting something. It gets you ignited again, and you miss a bit of that. That's definitely went out of the game, and the way it's probably refereed now as well, you wouldn't get away with. I mean, we always talk about Smicker and the way they played at the back. They were very aggressive coming through. You don't get away with any of that. Like Sass, today's game, Sass he wouldn't be able to compete today's game. He was brutal. I'm sure you loved playing against him.
Oh, Sauce was unreal, unbelievable. Well, a technique as well, but his aggression all round. We still play the over 35 game. Sometimes he comes into the changing room. There was one time where we didn't really start, and he was actually playing Northern Field team. He started hammering us at half time. He's your disgrace, and we were going, "Gee, all right, Sauce. Fucking Sunday morning football, relax, get a wee beer in you." But yeah, like that competitiveness, and you talk about Smicker. I always remember him leaping like a salmon and the arm up and just heading the ball, and then the forearm right through the back. Yeah, he hit me once, and I says, "I'm not going back there again." No, Winky, you can do
It's an
that.
accident, Maggers.
It's always an accident. But yeah, you can't get away. Winky Murphy couldn't play now. Like you say, Sass, Smicker, you'd be getting yellow cards every game. So you would, without doubt, and a lot more red cards. But that's the way the game's changed, unfortunately. And I say the same. The passion, I don't think's the same, because the aggression that we had against each other in them fights always ignited the crowd more than, yes, the fancy football's dead on at times, but the passion will always be the best for games like that, for the crowd. And when you get a full crowd at the Oval or at Windsor, the fans go mental at a tackle or
It just lifts everybody. When the crowd's up, it really does lifts the whole team and the whole spirits. You just get into another level, another gear.
Yeah.
You know, it's
You
unbelievable.
don't see that anymore. No, in terms of the tackles. No, even like a dive and tackle. You don't see a lot of slide tackle now. The game is all about staying up, and it's possession based. And you can see how they're pressing, how they're narrowing things now. So it's and especially the Glens. The Glens, I've noticed anyway, they're a high possession side now. So the once they lose possession, they get it back quite quickly. But they seem to retain it and play across the back and and take their time. And that can be frustrating as well, because sometimes you want a ball in the box and you want to see goals, and you're getting probably low scoring games a lot now. A lot of 1-0s, 1-each, 2-1s. You're not seeing the gone of the days at 6-7-0s.
We all love a bit of blood and thunder, though, don't we? And it's just, hopefully it's coming back a little bit. You can see that, because, like I said, the game a couple of weeks ago with Linfield Glentoran, it seemed to be from the very start. There was a bit of needle. It felt like a game from years ago.
I think the next one will be interesting. I think there's a few scores to be settled.
Bring it on. And you lads obviously all played for Roy Coyle, and we all know the success Coyler's had down the years. What was he like to play under? Because I remember speaking to a player that you guys played with, and he described him as kind of like a weird uncle. You'd bump into him in the corridor and you'd maybe just bury your head down and walk away. You wouldn't want to talk to him maybe. What was he like to play under? Because he doesn't strike me as a sort of man that would have put the arm around you too much and tell you how great you were.
No, the only time, I found he told you, or you found out you were good was when he put it in the paper. He would never tell you. He would say in the paper, how well you'd done whatever. He had it was a strange style of management, but he was the man. That was it. There was no talking back. You had no answer. If he told you something, you couldn't say anything back. I remember one day in training, like, the two boys were there, Davy Rainey.
Yeah.
And it was something about, it was the nearest man had to close, and Davy says, "I'm not the nearest man." This was at Blanchflower. And he was going, "No, you're the nearest man, so I can tell you can close." And so Davy is like a dog with a bone. "I dead on." I said, "What you say?" Says, "Nothing." "Dead on." "What you say?" 3 times. This something here is, "Put your bib down there, where you go." Here's Davy, dead on. A week later, Davy was at Ards. That's true. A week later. And he says, "Somebody in there wants to see you." I can't remember who was managing Ards.
I can't remember, but it was.
He was away in a week. That was it.
That's proper ruthless.
And that's the truth.
Were you scared of him? Like, genuinely scared of him? Or was it different to that? Just respect, maybe?
I don't know about scared. I remember playing here. He never missed a trick. And I can't remember who we were playing, but I knew I probably should have done a wee bit more. Whatever happened, the ball went one way, came back another way. Like, it was about 3 phases before the other team scored. And we came in and going, "What did he see that?" He saw it all right straight away. "That's your fault. You should have closed that earlier." You know what? It was scored about 40 seconds later. I go, "I told you. He never missed a trick. Never missed a trick." I used to carry the wee book in his sock, didn't he, in training?
Yep.
He had a wee book with his pencil. But he was sort of a man you wouldn't mess with, or you certainly wouldn't answer back.
I think we were fortunate we had Jimmy Brown there. He was the sort of go-between, wasn't he?
Rickety Ruse.
Rickety Ruse, yeah. No, I think I had down the years, about 4 or 5 conversations with Roy Coyle. he would sit there as you're walking in, he'd say, "All right, son," you go, "All right, gaffer," and that was it. But he'd let you know if you weren't doing the business on the pitch, and you knew if he said, "Listen, you've got about 5 minutes here to get your finger to your arse, or you're off," and you knew that's literally how long you had. And I remember one night in particular, we were playing Lisburn Distillery. We weren't playing particularly well, but we came in at half time and we were winning 2-0. I think you'd scored a couple, Lockie, and going forward we were weak, but we came in 2-0. You'll be happy enough. He went mad. He shouted at the front six, but he didn't shout at Lockie. He shouted at the other 5. And we went, do you remember that one? So it was 2-0 half time. Instead of coming in and going, which I thought he might have done, was going, "Right, lads, we're not playing well, but we could play better," and we would have maybe lifted it. He went through us all. We came out second half and we were even worse. And we drew 2 each. Now, it was a cup game, so it went to extra time, and he scored in about the first or second minute of extra time, and we hung on. But that was just my memory of the way he managed. It was just different, but you knew where you stood with him. There was no doubt about it.
That must have been one of those other hat tricks.
I was counting them myself there, actually.
But you can give me that fiver afterwards.
We played East Belfast out there once in the County Antrim Shield, and it was a freezing cold night. It was a Tuesday night, and it wasn't a big crowd, and it was an awful match. It was one of them games East were hammer and tongue, and we were 3-0 up, I think, with about a minute or in the extra time or injury time, and they had a free kick, and the big lad hit it, and it was the worst free kick ever. Straight in the wall, come off somebody's heel and spun over Elliott's head in the net, and he fined us all 30 quid after the match. All officially, by the way. Out of your wages, so 30 quid it cost us. The won 3-1, and it was a local derby, and it was one of them gets really hard to get up for. But you just want to go out, get it over and done with, get into the next round, and we all get fined 30 quid each.
I remember the one where Kevin Keegan, where on the training session out the pitch before, was it a semi-final or something? And Gaffer, he's pinging the ball, and obviously he was getting on a bit, so he wasn't really getting the distance, and it was raining, so every time the ball was going out to Keegs, he was out the left side, he'd control it and whip it in, and you had 2 front men, and then you 2 midfielders making a run, and one from like a fullback coming, so it was all attacking the box in all different areas. And Keegs, I mean, the first 2 balls into were brutal. They were just bounced up over his head, you know. But this kept going on, and he just wouldn't stop. He kept hitting the ball at the Keegs. And it got there about 10 minutes in. We all felt sorry for him at this stage, because the confidence had went.
Coyle or Keegs?
The confidence had went completely. And then I think he shifted somebody else out the left, and we got he was in the team for the next day, and the next day we got the team sheet. He said
He wasn't in it.
And it was his pass, and it was I felt sorry for Keith. He just kept bouncing it in front of him. But he was. All the managers that played under, you get like the David Jeffries, the very high end motivational. Roy Walker's a bit like that. Big Baxter's a bit like that. Definitely Marty Quinn. Roy Coyle was completely different. No, there was an element of fear. Where we knew, and the crowd was quite difficult at that stage as well. If you get in at 1 down at half time, you knew by the crowd, because they were going daft. Because I remember playing Liverpool out there, and they were shouting at us because we're 2 down at half time. I think we could beat 3. Oh, this is fucking Liverpool. But the gaffers like that, you went into the changing room, you knew if you hadn't played well in that first half, you were not that you were hiding, you're just going, "Oh, here we go," because he was brutal. It could be cruel sometimes with some of the boys, because when you listen to it, you're like, "Oh, yeah, that was tight." So you're thinking, if he's getting that, you made sure at the very least that you had 100% effort. And if things were going astray, sometimes it wasn't so bad. But as Gary says, if you didn't give that 100%, it was difficult going out at half time.
It definitely wouldn't work nowadays. They're all very soft petals these days. The young players coming through, it's mental. They couldn't cope playing for Coyle.
Did Coyle have any favourites that never got the wrath?
Scotty was a favourite, wasn't he? He loved Scotty.
Big Pete maybe as well for a bit.
Scotty and Gavin Bealock. He loved Gavin.
Pete invited him to his wedding.
His
contract was up right enough.
No, he was. Yeah, he was definitely. He. If you were doing well, he more or less left you alone. But if you dropped your levels anyway at all, and I mean, I always remember any of the games against Linfield and Portadown or even Coleraine to a certain extent when you knew you're playing against Paul or you're Paggy McAllister or Mickey Collins as well. He was always at you in that week leading up to it, and training and making sure you were right for the game. And it was always son, but son, don't you let him get on that ball. You had to hit him. That's probably why you could hit Braden early.
And one of the things again that probably has changed a lot over the years. How did you celebrate trophy successes? I mean, you probably got used to it, but I mean, how good was it?
Tuesday night wasn't much crack and round the town or anything. Like now, you'd have a great night, but it was usually back to the Park Avenue or the wee Castlereagh Club or maybe a Ballymac or the Westbourne or whatever. But Tuesday night with the County Antrim Shield or the a League Cup or a Gold Cup back in the day, you always had a good night, and you never were wise enough to take the Wednesday off. So, but it was always a good night. Like there's no doubt about it. I've never won a bad trophy.
Now you're beginning to sound like Roy Coyle.
Ever.
That's strange. I never went out the midweek once. We'll work next day, seriously. I was. You didn't really. That was the thing. You didn't get to enjoy the midweek game or the midweek finals, and it was nice to win them. But you were right into a Saturday game usually after. That's why the Irish Cup means so much. And you win that, you can.
It's always May Day.
2 or 3 days,
You can let your hair down, Lockie. or take it off, whatever.
Take it off.
And Maggers, we spoke there about Roy Coyle. What were your thoughts as an opposition player coming up against Roy Coyle?
Yeah, you just knew from speaking, at his time at Linfield, and like anybody, you were a fan as well as a player. And when I got into the Irish League, I loved it, and I didn't really know much about it because when I came from the West, I went at 16 to England for 5 years. Then I came back home, and I didn't really support anybody in the Irish League. I never went to a game before I went. I never supported Cliftonville or anything like that, and never been to a game. And you sort of just asked the questions, who are all these people, when you started to get to know them all and what was their background. And I always asked the questions about Coyle, how did he end up at Glentoran when he was such a legend at Linfield, and I found this fascinating because I actually couldn't believe it, the muches actually hate each other. Like, see, when I came back and the hatred for Glentoran and Linfield against each other, I was like, whoa, this is mental. Like, and then to see some of the boys moving across town, it was always fascinating. So I always asked the questions about him. It's very similar to what the boys were saying that he did at Linfield. He was such a strong man, and he was the boss, and everybody knew he was the boss, and what he said went, whether it was right or wrong. If he said it, that was it, and you had to listen to it and take it. It's the same sort of story that I've been told when he was at Linfield. And listen, sometimes it hurts people, but again, that's why he's won so many trophies at 2 of the biggest clubs in this island, because he was so hard and tough. And back in the days, players understood that and took it on board, and good characters would have took it on board and went through a brick wall for him. Where I think Michael's on the money here, and I have been involved for the last 10 years at Ballymena, Glenavon, and it's just a generational thing. And I find it with my children as well. They're just different now. They just get treated like princes and princesses. For me, it's a bit of a joke, like it does my head in. But that's the way society's went, and I think they're softer for it. And some people say it's better, some people think it's worse. I don't particularly like the way it is, but I have to go by it, or I'm a bad boy, But I agree with what Michael said. If a lot of these players played in the era of Roy Coyle or David Jeffries, they mightn't have been able to cope mentally.
All right, we've looked back, and obviously a lot of the good times at Glentoran. A lot of Glen men will be hoping those good times are on the way back. A lot of positive signs around the Oval. I know, Michael, you still playing. You probably don't see the Glens as much as you'd like to, but the other two lads have seen you at several games in recent times. Lockie, how close do you think the Glens are? Because we keep hearing down the years, it's happening. This is going to happen. The good days are going to come back. We're going to win the league. How close are they this time? And does it feel different? Because from the outside looking in, they actually look like a team again, and it's been a long, long time since I've witnessed that. Obviously, you've got a keener eye on it.
I've been following even when Gary came in and Paul and they were managing with Ronnie. You could see what they were trying to do, what they're trying to build, but they didn't have the finances. As soon as that investment came in, you definitely seen it change quite quickly. I mean, the jump to full-time football, Mick came in, and the whole sort of ethos changed quite quickly. You know, the players coming in, the finances, the wages. Under Mick, I mean, I know a lot of supporters won't want to hear this, but I was a big fan of his because what he done early days and the investment. I think probably he was, when he was trying to improve the team, I think at one stage we're sitting top of the league, and he brought like Jay Dunn, and he brought a few other players in, and we were on a run at that stage, and I think he went 10 games without a win, and yet you could see the investment. I was just so unfortunate, just couldn't grab a result out of those 10 games, and that was the end of him. And I think at that stage, the worry for me was the investment would have went with him, but now the investment's still there. You can see recently now with obviously the new management structure that's come in, it's been fantastic. There seems to be, from what I can see anyway, a real discipline, a real structure about the place, direction, a real direction where they're all pushing in the same direction now. And even the last load of transfers, they've been fantastic signings. You know, the boys coming from Derry City, it's a cold wee centre half. He looks fantastic. Absolutely looks unreal. Thorndike up front to come on, scored the winner. I mean, they're telling me in training this kid is out of this. Absolutely. So one of the best players they've seen in the league in years, and we haven't seen much of him yet. But they're saying training this kid is unreal in training. So all of a sudden you're seeing the investments there. They're still bringing players in, and you're seeing now consistency. And with that, I mean, we know this more than anybody here in this room. When you start winning and you get used to winning, then it becomes a norm. And once it becomes a norm, that's where this seemed to be at the minute. Now, I think Linfield at this moment in time is too far ahead. They had the early consistency, and they've been consistent, even though we've been brilliant against them. No, they're getting results constantly. And I think maybe they're beyond catching now, well, they should be. If they throw it away now, it'd be probably the worst thing you'll see in an Linfield team in the history of it. No, so they should go on and win the league. But I'm looking where the Glens are now, and if we'd have started the way we've been playing these last 2-3 months, would have been up there with Linfield. And it's a first. I'm looking at this season going, yeah, you could win 3 cups, and you're probably the form team to do that at the minute, so you could definitely do that, and you could still finish potentially second in the league.
But there's a problem with that. They play Bangor in the next round.
Oh yes.
So
look, Michael, you'll be delighted with that.
Off the Zimmer frame last minute. Come on, Michael.
They'll be able to bring Bangor off the back of that. Hopefully, they'll get a really good game, Michael, and maybe bring some better players in.
you've just
Certainly younger players are younger, not better. They're not be much better than Michael Holiday.
The other thing I was going to say about Declan Devine, obviously he played for the club. We knew what it meant to win with the club. He gets the club. I think it's very clear you can see that. How important is that? Because again, that's something probably Coyle brought to the table. He knew the club. He knew what it meant to play for the club. Can you see that? Like Decky brought in the legends in pre-season. Were any of you guys part of that?
I was about to say at the start of the year, myself, Lieber, Tim, Elliot, Andy, Matt were in, and I mean we got stitched up big time. We were just told we were coming to hand over tops, but then he sat us down and the players were there, and we were just explaining what it was like and what it meant to play for this club. And I think a lot of them bought into it, and you could just see Decky the way he was talking about it. You're going, I don't know if this has been happening with the previous managers, but he was trying to get them to realise like this club means a lot to a lot of people, and you just need to bleed for the shirt. That's what we're there for, to hand them the shirt. We've worn it, we've done our bit in it, but we're now giving you the shirt to wear, and you need to do your best in it. And as this season has gone on, you see the fight in them now. I think maybe certainly after I left in the teens, there wasn't that same fight and drive, but you can see them fighting for each other now, and that's the makings of a good team.
And Smicker, you've been involved around the club, obviously in different roles down the years. Do you sense something has changed? There's something brewing here?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, unbeaten in many games, 14, 15 games, whatever. But I think it's the desire. And even when it's not going well, I went down to Loughgall there last week, the week before, and the pitch was dire, it was heavy. Loughgall were up for it. Glens had 5, 6, maybe 7 players missing, and they still found a way. Smashing goal, they equalised, Joe Thompson, and then a penalty. But there's winning ugly, and sometimes you have to do that, especially on pitches like Loughgall. No disrespect to Loughgall, they give it their all. But it wasn't a great Glens performance, but they still walked out with 3 points. And probably you could say the same about Saturday. Bit of a slog. You know, against a good Dungannon team, by the way. I mean, they're sitting third. And, okay, it took a great goal to win it, but another clean sheet and another 3 points.
What do you think has changed, though? I mean, the type of player coming in, you know, I'm sure a lot of fans will look at a lot of the players come in, probably had never heard of half of them, which is a bit of a change from maybe where Mick was going. It was just a matter of they had so much money, let's go and buy the big names out there. And it's difficult to sort of get a team together when you do that. This seems so different under Decky.
Yeah, well, again, it's hard to turn down, you know, the likes of, you know, big names and obviously big clubs. And if somebody becomes available, you know, you're going, flip, you better go on for him, you know, because if we don't get him, well then Linfield or Cliftonville or Larne, whoever, they're going to get him. And what happens if he scores 20 goals? But even maybe the case that player maybe wasn't needed because you might have had cover in that area, but you're scared, you know, if a good player comes up, you're going to miss out. So I think there's been a wee bit, you know, more, not saying, like, again, I was a fan of Mick's too. He's always very honest with me. But I think there's been probably a wee bit more structure or more thought on what sort of player they need. You know, if they need a left back, we'll get a left back. If we need a right back, we need to get a right back. Not if, you know, Lockie or Mackers become available. You know, we don't need a midfielder, you know, because, I mean, there's good players out there who are available, but you need to get the players right for that position that needs filled. And I think they've done that.
What have you seen, Mackers, in terms of sort of since Decky came in? You know, obviously it was a difficult spell when he came in towards the end of last season, but you can see the change this year, can't you?
Yeah, but let's not forget as well, at the start early on, I think a lot of you were disgruntled as well because there was a slow change, I thought, maybe August, September. You know, you weren't firing on all cylinders, and I think that's why Linfield have ended up so far ahead. But certainly in the last, without a shadow of a doubt, in the last 3 months, it seems to all click. But sometimes it takes time for it to click. Decky came in and there was a lot of mayhem behind the scenes, and it was going to take a bit of time to get his ethos across and bring the right men in and bring the Glens men back who, like the boys say, who knew the club, who wore the shirt, who spoke about what the club meant to people, and that takes time to get it across, and all of that has to come together, you know, and it has taken a few months, but I think that's normal. But you can definitely see the progress that's happened from Decky's came in, and you can tell he wants to build this club, and you're 1,000,000% going in the right direction. So yeah, it's going well for, if you were a Glens man, you'd be absolutely delighted with how it's going so far.
The County Antrim Shield's probably one of them trophies that people sort of look down their nose at. I guess if you don't win it, then it's just a bin lid, isn't it? You know, that's the usual phrase. But to get over the line in a cup final, now I know the Glens won the Irish Cup during the COVID times, but to get over the line, to get that first one out of the way, another final on the way, potentially another final after that in the Irish Cup, just how important, even when you guys played, was it just to get that first one of the season over the line?
I think Lockie touched on it. Winning became a habit, and you expected it. And if you didn't get it, it drove you on to be better. So getting that first one out of the way must be a huge, it's a huge lift around the club. And it should drive the players on to want to win more trophies, and they're going the right way about it.
I was across at the final, and it's the first in a while where you've seen that crowd. The crowd was absolutely unbelievable. You know, so the Glens, I don't think there was any seats left in the Glentoran end where they were. Even to hear the atmosphere and the noise, that's got to drive those guys on, and seeing that again and knowing where we can be as a club. Getting the finals again, and the crowd coming back in big numbers, and the noise they're making. I hear there's a bass drum and all going. That's absolutely, but it's fantastic. No game. That game against Larne, the final, the intensity, the speed of the game, I've never seen the likes of it in Irish League. But even that the Glens I thought were fantastic because they pressed Larne in really high. Larne tried to play this game out from the back where their centre half goes on top of the keeper and takes the ball and constantly looks for the spare man. Well, Decky seemed to have that sussed right from the start because you could hear him where I was just above him. You could hear him shouting right away for the right sided player to push on really high, and they squeezed that right away, and they kept squeezing it and just stayed in Larne's half. And I thought they probably should have been 2 or 3 up at half time, and they come in at the end of the game, though, for it to be 1 each when I thought they were well on top for most of the game. They go out and take the penalties and win penalties. There's a lot of character, and Larne's penalties were good. And I thought, flip, this is going to be tight, and especially them pulling it back to 1 each. I thought, oh dear, is the confidence going to go? So it seems as if there's, and that's what our main keeper in, with the new keeper had signed for that as well. So character all of a sudden's there, and I don't know. Obviously, whatever Decky's bringing from the League of Ireland and that full-time approach that he's had, whatever he's doing, it's working, and it has taken a bit of time, there's no doubt, because I did read a lot of things early doors, and a lot of people saying, here we go again, and I'm going, we need to have a bit of patience. And speaking to a couple of the directors at the club, they did have the patience. They said, this guy's good. They knew from early doors from what he was doing. The boys, speaking to a couple of players, says the training was intense but unbelievable. They were training harder, longer. So there was definitely changes made quite quickly. But Paul, as you said, it takes a bit of time. And Michael would say the same. It takes that bit of time to get winning. Once they're there, and this sort of support you get, all of a sudden it becomes a lot easier when you're winning. It's an easier game to play.
There mustn't be many better clubs you could play for when things are going well. Because Glenmen come out in thousands at every cup final. You know, I'm sure the organisers of every cup final hope the Glens are in it, because it's always a proper party. One of the things you mentioned there was character of the side. That seems to have changed quite a bit, because, as you say, Andrew Mills played in that final. He talked afterwards like it was the greatest day of his life. Then even watching Daniel Jola, who didn't play, he was celebrating more than anyone was. Like, he lifted some of the things that over his head.
His character. He's already done a few things about the club. No, when one of the Linfield supporters had collapsed and things. So there's definitely character there amongst the team. But you're 100% right. I watched him as well, and I seen him celebrating with the team, and I thought that was class, because keeper's only signed. He's missed the first cup final, and I thought, and yet they must have a real good bond within the team.
And what is it like playing in front of these fans when things are going well? Because I know, we all know, it can be tough when things aren't going well, and the car park's quite busy at times. I mean,
Like Snickers, that's that one.
that's when he always goes away for a few years and goes back. But what is it like when things are going well? Because, I mean, the rendition of European Dream at the County Antrim Shield final was ridiculous. Like,
Oh, it's the best. It's the best in the world. You know, you'd say sing when you're winning, but in all honesty, it is fantastic. It's goosebump time. We've all had it. Obviously, Mackers at Linfield, but it's unbelievable. You know, when everybody's on your side, and as I say, like for example, Michael scoring the goal against the Blues in 2001. You know, that feeling, and then the noise from the Food North stand was completely packed. There's nothing like it.
and Maggers, what's your take of where we are? You know, we've spoken about the difference in character, the Glens. When you were involved at Glenavon, I'm sure you saw a very different Glentoran, because there was always a bit of a soft underbelly, but it seems to be like no one's taking anything for granted here, but nothing's being left unsaid. Every stone is being unturned here by Decky.
Yeah, look, you certainly, at this moment in time, Smicker said about it earlier, they're 14, 15 games unbeaten. You know, Lockie said about it, it becomes a snowball effect when you get into that run. The feel-good factor comes from the papers, comes from your teammates, comes from your family, comes from the fans, and it just snowballs, and that seems to be where Glentoran are at now. So at this moment in time, I certainly wouldn't back against them for the rest of the season, because it just seemed to be on a high, and they've already won a trophy. They look as if they're in the final against Cliftonville in a few weeks. They look as if they beat the Blues on the way. They must be confident with the Irish Cup coming up. So everything to play for the Glens, and I'm sure that the guys are happy after a turbulent last 2 or 3, 4 years. So if everything's going the right direction for Glentoran Football Club at this moment in time.
How realistic do you reckon it is to do the clean sweep of these cup competitions? I know Decky spoke about it earlier in the season, saying why not sort of set that as your challenge? Maybe leave you out of this one, Michael.
Leave me out of this one. I have a vested interest.
But yeah, it's a massive test against Bangor, obviously away.
You're right, it is.
But no, everybody wants to win a league. There's no doubt about that. And no, when you look at it, we talked about the Irish Cup being amazing because last day of the season, but winning that league and being the team win the league, it's by far the best thing you win, the best feeling. because you've had to perform consistently all season. And what you usually do find when you have a league winning side is you near enough see the same 11 to 14 players constantly, because you get that consistency, and you get a way of winning. So as good as there's great potential to win those remaining 2 cups. Irish Cup would be unreal, but it would be a disservice to the other sides as well. It really would, to say that, because in cup competition, we all know, looked at last night, Liverpool and Plymouth, was it? No, nobody's going to expect that. I'm a Spurs man, and even I sort of half expected that anyway. So, expectations from these guys, these supporters, will definitely be to win the other 2 trophies. There's no doubt about that. And do we have the squad to win it? Yes. Do we have the momentum? Yes. It's just you need that bit of luck and favour as well in cup football.
I think in the Irish Cup, a lot of the big teams have been knocked out by each other, because a Bangor, we're looking forward, if we get past the Glens, there's no one left for us to beat then. We'll win it.
And you're going to score the winner in the 90th minute, aren't you?
Well, if it happens, no.
Well, because you're, what,
I thought you were going to say his 90th birthday.
Well, tell everyone what age you are.
I'm 45.
Ish.
Ish.
What's it been like playing against the Glens? Because you grew up a Glen man. I mean, does it play in your mind, or did it like the first couple, or is it just a matter of playing for another team and trying to do your best?
The first couple kind of meant something, because you were still trying to prove a point, I guess, when I was at the Cruise, and then after that I've kind of dropped down the division, so very rarely have really played the Glens, maybe the odd friendly or something like that, but so the first few did matter, because you were still trying to prove a point, like, I should still be here, you shouldn't have got rid of me. Not that that's the way it happened, it was just a financial thing and all that there, but I was saying to you there that the first game I did play against them, I did score, and we won 1-0, and I didn't celebrate. Well, that's not strictly true. Everyone says, I'm glad
you lied to people, didn't you?
Well, I didn't lie to people. It was what everyone's seen, but I didn't celebrate until everyone gathered round me, and then I cheered. And then as they walked away, I just walked away. So no one knew that I celebrated. Sorry, guys, I did celebrate that 1 goal, but it just meant a lot to me at the time.
What if you were going to do it again in the Irish Cup? Would you celebrate?
I would knee slide from the halfway line right to the byline.
Be the quickest you moved in years.
And then I'd just hang the boots up straight afterwards. I wouldn't. Yeah, but
We'd get the stretcher out.
yeah, I hope Phoenix listening to this here. There's a goal in me. There's a goal in me.
There's no chance you knee slide. If you see the size of his feet, he's size 14 feet. He couldn't get Umbro. His Umbro boots were always 2 seasons back, weren't they? He never brought them out in your size.
That's because it took him so long to make it. They were out of, yeah.
Do you have to put the Belfast Telegraph up the front?
There's a few Belfast Telegraphs.
Looking back, the last time the Glens won the league obviously was so long ago now. Can you believe we're sitting here talking about it's been more than 15 years since Glentoran have won the league? I mean, it's ridiculous to say out loud even.
Yeah, it does seem a long time for a club like this, and I think it was 2009. We were you there?
I was at the Cruise.
You were at the
We
Cruise.
just won the Irish Cup and I retired, but Glens won it the week before.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So I mean, I was there. That's how long ago it was, and I mean, great time. But you would have thought at that stage, we were winning the league maybe once every 3-4 years, and you just assume that that's the way it's going to continue. But they just hit that dip, and they haven't really featured. But signs are good at the minute. So.
And obviously all the fans in this room will say the Irish League needs a strong Glentoran.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. I don't know what you makers. I mean, a lot of people probably say, well, that's only because people favour the big clubs. But do you think the league's always stronger when Glentoran are firing?
Anybody saying that's just talking nonsense. If we talk about football just for its pure rivalry and what it brings to the league, you need a Glentoran team fighting against Linfield at the top, but you also need the likes of Lauren coming through, and you need the likes of Crusaders, you need the likes of Cliftonville fighting there. But anybody says that they don't want Glentoran and Linfield fighting at the top, talking nonsense, you know what I mean? We've seen over the last, we haven't seen it, but I'd seen over my 10 years, but for the last 100 years or whatever it's been, the rivalry is just amazing, so intense, and it is the biggest rivalry in this island, and that's the way it'll always be, in my opinion, from what I've witnessed.
So, Looking ahead to where this team can go, this squad can go, and I'm sure there'll be improvements in the summer again. How far away are we from Glentoran being top of the pile again, do I think?
Well, County Antrim Shield's in the trophy room. They're in the final of another, and this is just going to breed confidence. Obviously, without Michael sitting there, it's a real banana skin down at Bangor. Then you've no Larne, you've no Linfield in the Irish Cup, and the draw could be favourable. You know, even if it's not, it's going to be a neutral ground in the semis, is it? After that one, you know, anything can happen. If you're a team that's won 16, 17 games in a row, by the time, if they do beat Bangor, what's to say, you know, there's another final. You have to get the final and you have to win it. You know, but there's massive opportunity. You know, they've won one, they're in the final of another, and they're the foreign team. So what's to say, another 2 games away from an Irish Cup? You know, I would say, as the boys have said about the league, I think that's a step too far. But they can still qualify for Europe coming second, which would be a great achievement, you know, out of nowhere. There's already a trophy in the cabinet. So Europe, a trophy in the cabinet, and competing in 2 others. I would say it's a very successful season.
I suppose they've already shown they can beat the team at the top of the table, basically with their eyes shut this season. It must give you confidence that looking ahead to next season, if you can get you've already got 1 trophy, you can get another 1 or 2 in the bag, you can really give it a proper go next year. You would imagine, wouldn't you? Because again, I'm sure the club will strengthen again.
Yeah. But look, Larne's come into the league because investment, and no, Linfield's had that investment for years, and they've had the ground, and they've had the consistency. And I do. The Paul, back when we were playing, you had a great Portadown side with Arkins and Hamilton and Mickey Collins and players like that. Big Fitzgerald came here. You had it near enough. You had a great Cliftonville side back then that Marty Quinn had, and then you had Marty going to Coleraine. You had a strong Coleraine. The league was very strong. I think you need to see that in the league. No, this year, yeah, Linfield's run away with the league, and that's because of the early consistency and inconsistency with all the other sides, especially Larne going through the European stage. But I think looking at the Glen side, if that finance stays there and you've got the support, which you've always got anyway, especially when things are going well, you've always that added support, and you've got the sort of pressure that these guys put on you to perform. So they're looking at next season, because I'd be shocked if we win. I'd be great if we win the league this year, but it would mean then the Blues would have to fall apart. I can't see that happen. They're too consistent, and I don't think their support would allow that to happen. Their club would allow that to happen. So I think it'd not be until next year where you see maybe a challenge. And I really do think if it could be next year where the Glens finally win a league. But there's an opportunity. I mean, every supporter here, I'm sure, would love to see 3 trophies, and that would be a good start for next year, wouldn't it?
And Gary, you've probably got a very different view as well in terms of things that your son's at the club. Obviously, he's on loan at Newry at the moment. What's it like for you watching him involved with the Glens, given everything that you went through with the club, good and bad?
He hasn't had much luck. April, but he had 30 minutes for the reserves, and he's going to Newry now, which will stand him in good stead, hopefully. You know, Darren Mullen's a good lad, so no, he comes back. He's a quiet kid. He doesn't give much away. You know, if he was in Castlereagh, he'd be flying. But you have to drag everything out of him. You know, how'd you do? All right. All the boys all good. Oh, yeah. And he doesn't say, aye, such and such is a laugh or whatever, but he's loving it. And he's loving the atmosphere. He's loving it. He says the training's outstanding. Tough, really tough pre-season. But he trains in Newry now, but he's only went last week, Tuesday, Thursday, and then he trains with the Glens Monday, Friday. So, but he's absolutely loving it. So I get a bit of an insight, but that's when I'm dragging things out of him. But he'll say nothing.
What's it like for you watching him involved with the Glens?
I wish I could tell you.
Well, yeah.
He's always injured. No, I'm proud. Obviously, you know, I've had my moments at the club, but as I say, I've always been a Glen man and always will be. So I was probably having a wee bit of a dispute at the time when he was leaving Ridgeway and he had to go to a Niffle club, and I lifted the side. I says, where do you want to go? And he says, Glentoran. So I says, your decision. I think it's been the right decision, tell you the truth, because he's left school. The club have given him full time, so he doesn't know he's living, basically. You know, his wee mates working in Tesco and doing the night shift and stuff, so he's living the dream and he doesn't even know it. So it's up to him. But no, it's easy for me. Just wish we should stay a bit fitter. Like Big Michael.
But isn't that so good to have local kids have that opportunity now? When you think
Yeah,
about
it's
that,
unbelievable. Yeah.
we were all part-time, having to take on jobs and things, to have that opportunity to go full-time, especially at that age. And it's some incentive for young kids coming through now to see there's a possibility of that locally.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
Well, looking ahead slightly to the Bet McLean Cup final, nail your colours to the mast here. How's it going to go? Start with you, Mackers, because you're not going to instantly just say Glentoran. You know, Cliftonville are a good side. They've been a bit sort of up and down in recent times.
You know, I thought Cliftonville were sensational last season. I watched them loads of times, and their front three, who they lost, you know, the big lad Ashford was a really good player, and what was the big lad back?
Ben Wilson.
Ben Wilson, quality players, and I think they've struggled with losing them, and they were always going to. I think 40 goals went out of their team. We're losing the three strikers there, and I think they're vulnerable this season without doubt. And I'm not just saying it because I'm sitting here. On form, I think Glentoran beat them in the cup final if it keeps going the way it's going. But it was, I have to say, I was there at the Irish Cup final supporting Linfield against Cliftonville last season, and Linfield started off like a house on fire. First 30 minutes, I went, there's only going to be one winner here, and then I went downhill. But the atmosphere at that game was absolutely sensational. It really was unreal. And when the wee lad ran away to score the goal, I don't think I've ever heard a roar that hard from the Cliftonville fans. But I know you'll get the exact same there after seeing the Cliftonville fans get the winner there, and you see all the Glens men, and the stadium's going to be filled. It's going to be an amazing day, and it's just one that everybody in the country is going to look forward to, and including myself.
And the amount of tickets sold like within the first 24 hours was frightening. You know, does that feel like the old days coming back? Are huge crowds and, you know, everything on the line, and the Glens fighting to win trophies?
That's the way it should be. Yeah, and it's good that it's happening again. I think, well, as you said, with regards to this cup final, it's a one-off game. Obviously, we'll probably nail our colours to the Glentoran mast, like, but they're on a tremendous run, so you wouldn't back against them.
Probably only raging you're not playing the Blues in the final.
It's sure to be a penalty kick.
What about you, Loggy? How do you see it going?
Yeah, it'll be a tight game. I truly think Cliftonville over the last 3 or 4 years been one of the better football sides. Every time I watch them, their possession game's fantastic. The pace of what they're passing at, they're so good to watch. They're actually, it's a team you go, they're exciting, and they were scoring goals. Obviously, yeah, he's lost players. I'd say Jim's a fantastic manager. When I watch him, he's got them so well structured, so talented. So, yeah, it'll be a very, very hard game. Obviously, we're getting into it, the team of confidence, but it's cup final. I'd definitely go Glentoran, knowing where we are now, but it's not going to be an easy game.
And I'm going to guess Smicker, same thing.
Yeah, well, again, you can't take on for granted. We did against Coleraine in 2003, unfortunately. And we did, and the boys will tell you, 2001, we stayed in Park Avenue. We always stay the night before. We'll go and watch a film. I can guarantee there's not one person can remember what that film was about, because nobody could concentrate or that nervous. But see the 2003 final, for being overconfident, it just didn't feel like a cup final the next day. We 100%, me anyway, I don't know if mine wasn't on it, and I'm sure the boys would agree. Went in just expecting to win. So you go in with that attitude, then you'll get egg in your face. But I don't think the Glens are at that stage yet to take on for granted. Things are starting to pick up. So if they've got the right frame of mind, then they've every chance. As boys have said, Cliftonville have lost a lot of players, and I think Big Gormley went off yesterday with a hamstring strain. So if it's a proper one, it could be 6 weeks. He'd be touch and go, but that'll be a massive loss to Cliftonville. Although, fingers crossed. Don't want to joke.
Yeah, you hope he comes back straight after the finals, what you're saying?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, big threat.
Maggers, anything else to say about the Glens? Obviously, you're sitting here in front of Glentoran fans. Anything you want to...
No, just wanted... Listen, I had some of the best times of my life playing against Glentoran, and I'll always be grateful for the football club for that, and these guys sitting here, look, they got the better of us manage a day, and we got the better of them manage a day, and it's just a period in my life, and they'll be the same. We'll look back on with fond memories, you know. Maybe you call me all sorts of names out there when you won or when we won, but it was memories that'll last a lifetime, and I'm forever grateful that I was privileged enough to be a part of playing them. They are a great football club, and that, you want them back at the top, because that's where you need them in Linfield to be, you know.
And same for you guys. I'm sure just some of the best moments of your lives representing this club.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, after I could have hung the boots up after 2001 and just lived happy, you know. But you know,
You'll score the winner 2004 as well.
all right, well, we'll go to 2004 as well then. But yeah, it's like great memories. They'll live with you forever. And I think certainly probably for the three of us, because we were there on the, you know, the terrace and watching them, it meant so much more to us probably.
Same with you, Lockie, just some of the best days.
I lived in Harkness Parade, right, where the Blues have to walk down, so they used to put my windows in down. That's why I didn't like them. Living in Cliftonville. That's why I used to boot you so much. But yeah, look, this club over the last, from 2008 was it? No, it's been hungry. It's been hungry from success, and you've had manager after manager. I've felt sorry for them because they haven't had the finances to get the club where it needed to be. And all of a sudden, when you've got that, you can see the support, you can see the structure behind it. No, and the league without a strong Glentoran or strong Linfield isn't. No, it's like the Scottish League without Rangers in it. It was a disaster. And I think you need those two clubs, two strong clubs. And when we were fortunate that maybe have a strong Portadown, have a strong Coleraine. It was such a good league, and you want that, and the supporters need that, and you probably need the facilities to go with it. So, no, the next hope is for the stadium to be sorted in some way as well, because you imagine playing out there in an all-seater stadium. No, the atmosphere you see the atmosphere as it is now. What will it be like enclosed? It'll be unreal.
And Smicker, same with you, just incredible moments and different spells and different roles. And
yeah, I've done it many 80s, 90s, noughties, right up the flipping what was it, the noughties. Yeah, it's a big part of my life, you know. So it's good to see that the Glens are back, you know, or getting back, you know, as I say, without getting too excited just yet. But it's looking very promising.
Will we ever see you back here?
Playing?
Must be your turn soon.
I'm not as old as Big Michael, very chance. No, I don't. Well, as long as Casey's here, obviously, you know, and I do enjoy coming down to a home match. I'm not involved in football anymore, and quite happy not to be. So yeah, I'm a quiet watcher.
Well, look, lads, we'll leave it there. Thanks very much for joining us in this episode. Maggers, thanks as always.
Thank you.
And we'll catch you on the next episode.
Cheers.
Good.